Happy Friday, Year 3, and welcome to our very last English lesson for this half term. I am so impressed at how hard you've all been working at home. So let's stay focused for one more day because today we get to put our finishing touches on our story. So today, it's Miss Everingham here, and today you will need in your writing, in your lesson, a pen or a pencil and your home learning book or your piece of paper to write on. Press pause while you gather these things and press play when you're ready to get started. Fantastic. Okay, so your writing task this week has been to write a short sequel to Into the Forest. So a sequel is the story that happens after the end of our story Into the Forest. So wonder what happens to our characters at the end of the story. If you need to, you can listen to the Into the Forest again, just to remind yourself about what happens at the link there. If you need to do that, just press pause and press play when you're ready to keep going. Okay, so today we are learning to edit our work to improve our writing and engage our reader. My turn. Today I'm learning to edit my work to improve my writing and engage my reader. Your turn. Fantastic. Editing is so important to make sure we're always doing our best work. So firstly, we're going to check that we have followed the narrative structure in our writing from yesterday. So, in the introduction at the beginning of your story, have you introduced your main characters? Your main character is probably going to be the boy in the story, but maybe your main character is another person that we met in the story Into the Forest. You're introducing them, talking a bit about them, what they like and what they don't like, and talking about where the story is set. Is it in the forest already? Is the boy in his home before he goes into the forest? Press pause and check that you have introduced your character and talked about where the story is set. Press pause while you check that and press play when you're ready to continue. Fantastic. Now we're going to check the middle of our story. That's where we introduce the problem. What happens? Is there an evil character? Does the boy get lost, or is he come in contact, or he can't find the characters or the people that he's looking for in the forest? This is where you talk about the problem, what happens. Press pause while you check if you've introduced your problem in the middle of the story, and then press play when you're ready to continue. Fantastic. I can see some people have fixed up some of their work, which is great to see. And then in the ending, this is where we talk about how the problem has been solved. So here is one idea. At the beginning of the story, the boy tells his mum about how the hungry, scared children he met in the forest, and he explains that he wants to take care of them. Then the boy decides to take cake into the forest once again for the children, but the problem is maybe he got lost, or maybe he couldn't find the children, or maybe he came across a dangerous creature or character. Then at the ending of my story, the problem is solved because the boy ends up finding the children and they become friends. The children help him find home, and grandmother also helps him, finds him and takes him home. So check if you have a story structure like that with introduction, climax, and ending. You now have 10 minutes to finish your story if you didn't yesterday, and check that you have followed that story structure. Press pause while you finish off your story and then press play when you're ready to keep going. Well done. Wow, I think some of you have some really creative endings to your story. Now it's time to check if we have included all of the skills we need to show in our writing. The first skill we learned this week was subordinating conjunctions. My turn. Subordinating conjunctions join a main clause and a dependent clause together. Your turn. Fantastic. So remember, subordinating conjunctions join a main clause like this. He walked carefully towards her after she smiled at him. So he walked carefully towards her is the main clause. She smiled at him is the dependent clause. And after is the subordinating conjunction. It's the joining word that joins the main clause and the dependent clause. Here are some subordinating conjunctions that you can use in your writing to add some extra information onto your main clause. Pause the video now and take 5 minutes to add in some subordinating conjunctions to add some extra information to your sentence. Or just use this time to see if you can add a bigger variety. Choose some of the words on the screen that you haven't used and add them to your sentences. Press pause while you do that and press play when you're ready to continue. Fantastic. I know some of you have really improved your writing by adding extra detail to your sentences, by adding in a subordinating conjunction. The next thing we learned was direct speech. My turn. Direct speech is spoken words in inverted commas with a reporting clause. Your turn. Fantastic. So all the spoken words in direct speech must be in between inverted commas. The first word of direct speech has a capital letter. Have you included some speech between the characters in your story? That's what you need to do. If you have, you need to make sure that you have included inverted commas around the spoken words. Can you check that now? Great. You need to also make sure that just after the first inverted comma, there's a capital letter at the beginning of the word. Can you check that now? Fantastic. If you need to pause the video and fix that up, you can do that now. Okay, direct speech is spoken words with inverted commas, so we've just checked that. But it also has a reporting clause. My turn. Reporting clauses tell us who is speaking. Reporting clauses are outside the inverted commas. Your turn. Fantastic. They're cutting wood in the forest, said the girl. Said the girl is the reporting clause. It tells us who is saying the words, who is speaking. Can you check now if your direct speech includes a reporting clause that says who is speaking? It needs to be outside the inverted commas. You can pause the video if you need now to check that you have done that and add it in. And then press play when you're ready to continue. Okay, fantastic. There's another example. Grandma whispered quietly, "Come in, dear." The reporting clause is Grandma whispered quietly because it's outside the inverted commas and it tells us who is talking. So you now have 5 minutes to either add in some direct speech or check that your direct speech has used the punctuation correctly. Now remember, you need all of these things. Direct speech is spoken words in inverted commas and with a reporting clause. Make sure you have all of those things. Press pause while you check all those things and then press play when you're ready to continue. Fantastic. Some of you have really improved the accuracy of your writing by reading over it and fixing up the punctuation. The last thing we learned about this week was relative clauses. Have you included some relative clauses in your writing? My turn. A relative clause comes after a noun and gives more information about the noun. It starts with that, which, who, whose, where, or when. Your turn. Fantastic work. So, I picked up the basket which was full of fresh cake. A relative clause comes after a noun. Basket is the noun and gives more information about the noun, which was full of fresh cake. The basket was full of fresh cake. The relative clause is in yellow and it gives more information about the noun. The relative clause starts with either, that, which, who, whose, where, or when. This relative clause starts with which. This relative clause comes after the noun girl. That is the girl who hid behind the oak tree. The relative clause gives more information about the girl. Which girl? The girl who hid behind the oak tree. Who hid behind the oak tree is the relative clause, and it starts with who. Who is one of the words that relative clauses can start with. There's another one. The path that leads into the dark woods is dangerous. Path is the noun. That leads into the dark woods is the relative clause that talks about the noun path. Now you have 5 minutes to add in or check your relative clauses. Now remember, your relative clauses can start with that, which, who, whose, where, or when, and they talk about the noun that it comes right after. So you might now be able to find some nouns and see if you can add some more information in about them using a relative, about that noun using a relative clause. Pause the video while you add in some relative clauses or check your answer and then press or check your writing and then press play when you're ready to check your work or keep going. Fantastic. Okay, now that you have checked, you've finished off your writing in a narrative structure, you have checked that you have included direct speech, relative clauses, and subordinating conjunctions. It's now time to edit your punctuation. Have you used capital letters to start the sentence? Have you used full stops, question marks, or exclamation marks to end the sentence? Have you got subject and verbs in every sentence? Every sentence needs to at least have a main clause, which is a subject and a verb. And is your work written in past tense? So all of the verbs, the doing words, need to be in past tense in your sentences. So pause the video here. This is going to be your checklist as you need to read through your work and then check that you have done all of these things. Wow. Well, you have worked really hard checking your work, and see how much you have improved by going back, reading over and editing your work. That's very important to be professional writers. So pause the video now, finish off reading your work. I can't wait to hear from Miss Alib today how well you have finished off your stories. So great work, and I hope you have a lovely holiday once you get to the end of today. Thanks for your great work this half term. Bye.